behalf of the grandchildren that my brother wrote, which he could not be here today, unfortunately. Irène Weitzberg-Herz died on August 2nd, 2019. She was 94 years old. Boulevard Louis Schmidt. It is there that for nearly 60 years Irène lived, raised a family, and welcomed guests. It is there that her mother, her husband, her cousin, and ultimately she too died. A green door and checkered marble floor marked the entrance, reminding you that you had arrived home after a long journey, somewhere warm, somewhere comforting. If the walls could talk, they would speak in many languages. Polish, her mother tongue and the official language in Lwów at the time of her birth, when the Second Polish Republic was a mere 7 years old. In a city filled with ethnic Poles, Ukrainians, and Jews, she would understand quickly that language could convey both beauty and ugliness. It was the surest way to know who held power. At her Gymnasium, the teacher lauded a boy's Slavic name, Vitek, but ridiculed the Jewish name, Izaak. But they sound so alike, just change the first letter, she thought. The arbitrary cruelty was not lost on her. Russian, forced upon her because of a pact to divide a country agreed upon 1,000 kilometers away. Who knew that one could learn a language? Who knew that one could learn a language with 6 cases in less than 2 years? Who knew that it would then stay with you for the rest of your life? German. It was quite useful to the persecuted to speak the language of the persecutors. It would help her to survive outside the ghetto, including as a maid in the homes of German officers, even if she did not know that soup was made with water. And later it would help her to hide in plain sight in Germany with a false name and false papers. For so many, German was associated with brutality. But could a language per se be brutal, she wondered? Papillon and butterfly, she would say, light and airy. Then looking you in the eye and smacking her fist into the palm of her hand, she would proclaim, Schmetterling. Swedish, a language that to her meant safety and an end to persecution. It would mean a lifelong friendship with an extended family. And even if her stay in Sweden was short, she would remember it fondly. French, the language of her new home Belgium, where she built a life after the Holocaust. There she met her future husband, who had been born 13 years before her in the same city, but in a different country. They spoke for hours on their first encounter. He too, and all their friends, had their own stories of survival, but they did not allow those pasts to control their futures. Hebrew, the language of ancient rites and rituals. She never learned it, but she listened with pride as the prayers over wine and bread were recited, a language that had survived, just as its speakers had, for millennia. And English, she never needed it, but how could she not help but try and learn the lingua franca? Of course, she mastered it just enough to convey humor that would otherwise be lost in translation. One Jew tells another that he's going to London to polish his English. The other responds, confused, but your English is already Polish enough. Somehow that punchline takes on a new dimension when it is told by a polyglot. If those walls could talk, they would share many memories, including our last memory of our grandmother. An apartment buzzing with the chatter and laughter of family, friends, acquaintances, and neighbors. A sweltering heat in the height of summer, but no one seemed to mind. And amidst this excitement, Mimi was seated, sharing an insight, telling a story, or maybe a joke.